Right guys, welcome back to the channel once again, and apologies for not being able to get another battle report out for a review, but we don't have a Lumineth army, and if I'm honest, me and Lucy have no experience when it comes to Lumineth. One man that does, however, is my faithful colleague.
That's overselling experience of it. I don't know if anyone has much experience with Lumineth, given
nobody's
COVID and everything like that. I mean,
nobody's played. It's like they dropped the original box set with the Lumineth Battle Tome in, right? Mm-hmm. And then it was like, oh, by the way, nobody can play it because the entire world is in lockdown. And then, like 8 months later, oh, by the way, that army that you've never played, he's a new Battle Tome.
Oh.
And I absolutely get the rage. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody, as much as my daughter's Harakian army is Lucy's, because I gave her it because she didn't want to play Slaanesh anymore, it's still my army because I built and painted it right. Yeah. And it was a case of, oh, he's the Mortal Realms Marathi. Great. Now, I'm very fortunate enough, Grant, that Games Workshop sent us that as a preview copy. But if I bought that, and then 3 weeks later there's a whole new Battle Tome that completely invalidates everything that was in that book anyway, I'd be pretty annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, this is better than that.
At least they've released them at the same time.
Everything was set up front.
And gone.
Everything was up front.
Yeah, so they've gone, if you've got the old book, buy this one. Right? If you don't have the old book, buy this one. Cool.
Although, I would say if you have the old book, I would still buy the new book, because then you don't have to carry 2 books around with you.
That's true.
All you want from the Broken Realms is your new Lumineth rules, then you're just going to buy the new Battle Tome, because you only want to carry 1 book with you.
Yeah. And that said, the Broken Realms books are presented very nicely.
Yes, they are. I will need to pick this one up.
So, what we're going to do is not look at that book for the review, apart from 1 page. So technically, yes, you do actually need this book. You need this book for this page, the points, because for some reason, points aren't in here for the new units. I don't think they are. I didn't see them. Oh, no, my bad. Yep, I'll take my shoes off and eat them now.
Well, you can edit out. I mean, you can easily just chop that whole conversation out and no one will know.
Come on, I'm not that intelligent. Right, so, I'll be honest, right? If you've seen my other video yesterday on YouTube, you'll know that I've had a lot of stuff going on in the house. And I'm incredibly frustrated. I haven't even painted in like 2 weeks, Grant.
Yeah, I know what that's like. I was there not long ago with this work and stuff, and it just... First while the break's really nice, and then you really start to get the urge again. And well, I'll be waiting to get busy with lambing and stuff soon, and that whole time I'm going to be like, I need to paint.
I never want to cut another tile again.
I just don't want to do any decorating. I hate all of it. It drives me off the wall.
So there's a whole host of narrative battle plans and everything in here. And all of them have a battalion that kind of fits with the story. So we'll cover them very briefly after we've covered the Lumineth. But there is some Battle Tome updates. The Sloppity Bile Piper and the Spoil Pox Scrivener got an update, along with the Beast of Nurgle, and there's a battalion for them. Neither of us are that familiar with Nurgle to know what's actually changed.
No, but the Biopiper I don't think did much, and now he's got 3 separate abilities, one of which has the single greatest name in Age of Sigmar. I don't know if you've seen this.
Early one evening, my pustule was sleeping.
Nope.
My love is like a pipe fart.
Right fart.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm blind. Enemy models within 3 of a friendly Nurgle demon unit that is wholly within 14 of any Sloppity Bilepiper playing this tune cannot finish a piling move closer to a model. So basically it stops you from piling in.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously really good. It's a great defensive ability. Nurgle are very defensive, but just that name is superb.
My love is like a ripe fart. It's funny. We have a new city.
Yes, we do.
City of Learning.
Yeah, so this is your Lumineth city. Like we got Harakian before was the Daughters of Cain city.
Yeah.
So you can do the 1 and 4 Lumineth Realm Lords within the city. So yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I like that they're expanding the cities.
I just want to point out as well, each of the battalions is actually the box sets that they've released to go alongside this book. Yeah. So the Nurgle box set, obviously. This was the City box set, which has a Battle Mage, a Celestial Harakanum, and a Luminarch of Haish as well.
Yep.
There's a lot
which are the same kit, so you can make the Luminarch or the Celestial Harakanum with this. It's the same kit twice.
Ah, so right, okay.
One with them, yeah.
Cool. We've got command abilities, spells, artifacts. Did anything stand out to you?
There's one spell I think is particularly nice, and that is the Drain Magic.
Yeah.
So it's casting value of 6, and now this city gets a +1 anyway.
Yeah.
So it's going off in a 5, so it's pretty much always going off. And you subtract 2 from casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for wizards within 12-inch.
It's pretty handy.
Now, that also says wizards within 12-inch, not enemy wizards.
Ha.
So you need to have somebody that's happy enough to be on their own.
Yeah.
So maybe this is where you look at the Griffin Mage, the Battle Mage on Griffin with the 2 heads.
Yeah.
Have him fly into the enemy and kind of nerf their magic a little bit.
That would be awfully inconvenient to cast against Tzeentch, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't think
you've got to get it off. If there's a lot of change there, they're going to easily stop it. But yeah.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. If you do, yeah, it does work. It's fine.
You've got a War Scroll Battalion for Flesh Eaters, so you've got a Boran Arch Regent, 1 Crypt Horror unit, 1 Crypt Ghoul unit. And once per battle, you can use the Ravenous Crusader command ability without spending a command point. You also don't take battle shock tests whilst you're within 12. It's handy because, let's face it, ghouls die fast to battle shock.
Yeah, but you have to be Hollowmorn.
Yeah.
It's limited to the Hollowmorn, and that's the one that nobody really takes.
No.
It's the horror-focused one. You can do better stuff with other ones. But it's there. And I think it's a great box.
The box is nice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could basically grab a couple of these and a couple of Star Collecting sets, and you've got a great foundation.
Absolutely. Horrex Dreadlands. Now, I did consider picking this up for Lucy just to add to the models because you get 10 Death Riders and a Liege Cavalos.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of cavalry armies. It's what I tend to gravitate towards as I'm sitting here looking at bidding up Beast Claw Raiders. So this did appeal to me just as grab a couple of these, put them to one side, and do an Ossiarch army at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is linked to Staliarch Lords, which narratively makes sense. They're the horse army, if you will, from the book. So this one gives you, each time you use the Rally Back command ability on a 4+, you get a discipline point back.
Yep.
Which is nice.
A 50% chance it doesn't cost anything, so that's all right.
Exactly. And with Ossiarch, you're always trying to manage that relentless discipline points, especially if the game goes on, you're losing units, you're maybe lost a liege or something, you're not generating as much.
Yeah.
Being able to keep it is fine. The other thing is that because he's technically a named character, he has to get the artifact from the Staliarch Lords and the command trait from the Staliarch Lords. So there's no way to play about with him, but that's fine. You'd probably be given.
But because he's taking this battalion, you get another artifact anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
So, and that's the non-Lumineth stuff for the book.
Yeah, it's not big on the non-Lumineth stuff, but it's there.
So, of course, we've got all of the fluff, some very cool imagery, but I just think, the guy with the goat mask that's like floating on all the swirls with the bow, he just reminds us of the Lord Venator from Stormcast.
Yeah. You can. But it's interesting to look at the Lord Venator and look at this guy and see how much the designing and machining has improved since then because
Oh yeah, well I mean, Age of Sigmar's 6 years old now.
Yeah.
And Venator was one of the first models that was released.
Yeah, it was.
So he was probably designed 2 or 3 years even before that.
Yeah.
But one of my new favorite models, Elenia and Elithor. I love the dualness of them, and I love Huracan Windmage floating away on his little cloud.
Makes me think of the guy from Mario Kart, the cloud and
Lakitu.
Yeah, just he's got a cloud and he's sitting on a cloud, like. But yeah. So here it is.
We've got the Kangaroos.
Yep.
And loads of other stuff. We've got very reminiscent of the old high elf things. We've got the Venari Star Shard Ballista. So very, very cool.
Yeah. Also, we've added the Harakian Temple, which is your wind temple, which had their.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, their main trait mentioned on the community article this week, which has caused a lot of discussion. So now I was curious what this would apply to, and it is only, as far as I can see, the new Kangaroo troops and their characters.
Right, so it says when you make a pilot move with a Harakian model, it does not have to finish the move at least as close to the nearest enemy model. In addition, when you make a pilot move with a Harakian model, if it made a charge move in the same turn, it can fly and can move an extra 3 inches when it piles in. So basically, you've got a 6-inch pile in with the fly keyword that doesn't have to be to the nearest enemy.
Yeah, and there's what I really like about the way they've written this is they've got a designer's note in the book specifying exactly what they intend from that, which is that they can flow around enemy units in combat and to back off from fights that don't favor them.
Yeah.
So they've tried to make it as clear as possible.
So you can actually, when you come to pile in, pile out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually quite nifty.
And initially, I was concerned of what units this would be on, but because it is only on the Cavalry units, they've got the bigger bases and that, so it is going to make them very hard to tie down. But it's not quite maybe as bad as it could be, but it does give them effectively move, shoot, move from the old Tau days.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, and there's ways to... There's a battalion for them that we'll get to that buffs that even more.
Right. So we've got Venari and Skinari as well.
Yeah, which are... I think we're both in the other book.
So Venari unit is set up if the base of each model in the unit is touching the bases of 2 or more other models from the same unit, then that unit becomes a shining company. Subtract 1 from hit rolls. Yeah. Nice. So the spell lore, has the spell lore changed, Grant? Because I was a bit unfamiliar with the spells.
This is a whole new spell lore.
So who can take this?
So Teclis knows it, all this whole lore along with his other whole lore. So he's got 12 spells. And also any of the new Harakian wizards can cast spells from this as well.
Right, okay.
And there's 3, I think, in particular that are of note from this.
Okay.
So the 3 that jumped out to me straight away was Howling Gale, which is on a casting value of 7, you pick 1 enemy unit within 12 that's visible to the caster. That unit cannot use or benefit from command abilities until your next hero phase.
Wow.
That is... They've already had the ability to make you spend double CP, now they can just turn it off.
So it's like turn off your most important one, and then if you think, oh, well, it's okay, I've still got my second important one. No, that one's now going to cost double.
Yeah. Or you've got a big unit you want to try and make run from Battle Shock. Cast it on them, they can't be made immune.
Wow.
So you've got to roll your Battle Shock. So yeah, I think that's
a double-edged sword, because obviously you can do it either way then, can't you?
Yeah, that's why I think initially when I read it, I thought, oh, it's just the unit, but then it is cannot use or benefit, so you can cast it on heroes or units. So it's got some great versatility in it.
That's really, really good.
Yeah, and it's only on a 7, which it's not super easy, but it's not exactly difficult either.
Nah.
So the next one is Guiding Flurries, which is again a casting value of 7. You pick one friendly Lumineth Realm Lord unit armed with missile weapons within 12 of the caster. And then you can choose which effect you get. You either get an extra 6-inch range or +1 to hit.
So I'm guessing the ballistas are pretty good then.
Well, it's not even for them. It's the Sentinels that are currently tearing everybody up.
Right.
Because they're sun metal weapons, they're doing mortal wounds on 5s, and they don't need line of sight and stuff like that. So being able to add another 6-inch range, or if they're close enough already getting +1 to hit is... Is that one
of the new units, or is that an existing unit?
No, that's an existing unit, that one. That's the one that we have seen been played in TTS and things like that has been making a noticeable dent in other armies. So that just seems like another buff to them. And then the last spell that really jumped out was they get a teleport on a cast of 8, the Transporting Vortex. So it's a standard, pick a unit within 12, remove it from battlefield, set them up wholly within more than 9, away from any enemy units.
Wow.
And they've got a heal as well, which isn't, maybe as good for them because they don't have a lot of big multi-wound units, but they've got the big battle cows and they've got a number of 2-wound troops and stuff like that, so they've still got that. And if you've got Teclis, you know all this anyway. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What? I know Teclis in the lore is an amazing wizard and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But, like, how good is he?
So, I think until we really see him run at events, like real events and stuff, it's hard to really judge. I never really look at much TTS stuff personally. But if you build into Teclis, you can do a lot of stuff. The fact you can just automatically guarantee a key spell is huge. And the fact you can guarantee you're going to get them off on a certain number if you want to cast multiple spells is great. You're just not having to roll dice, so you're just relying on your opponent to unbind it.
So my issue with this is, right, why... And I know Teclis is technically a god, right?
Yeah.
Why isn't Alariel on par with Teclis? Why isn't Morathi on par with Teclis? Don't get me wrong, Morathi's good.
Mm-hmm.
But, like,
well, I think
realistically, is Nagash as good as Teclis?
Nagash is due an update. We have to kind of bear that in mind. Nagash is a...
Well, he's had one in the Bone Reaper book.
He didn't really get an update. He got, the ability to multicast Arcane Bolt. It wasn't
and went up 80 points.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we ever see another, like, Legions of Nagash book or he goes somewhere else, I think he will probably be revisited in some way because he's in an odd place compared to the rest of the god characters because he is really up there in points and maybe not as good. But that's down to his book not being as good, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the god characters are interesting because it's really hard to balance them. Because, yeah, like Morathi's maybe not as good at casting, but if she gets into combat with Teclis, she will murder him no problem.
Yeah.
Alariel will murder him no problem. That's the thing. Teclis really can stand up to a fight.
Whereas at least, Morathi, if you're using the Shadow Queen, even the little one can't die.
Exactly. So
she will outlast.
Fairly beefy. I mean,
she will outlast almost everybody in combat, right? Because even with the new rule, she can't be insta-killed.
No.
But like even Alariel, if the beetle hits, it hurts.
Oh yeah, so good. And the other thing to bear in mind is that Teclis is by far the worst model of all those things.
Oh, don't even get me started on the model. I would have rather just had him on like a 50-60 mil base like Sigvald's and just make him like big and exquisite.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to have a god character that's not on a mount or massive, just somebody that's still normal-ish size but is imbued with the power of the gods, sort of thing. I think that would be a nice take on it.
I'm just going to have to put my headphones down a second and grab a model very quickly. Now, Grant can't see this because we're only audio calling, right? But I'm showing a model to the camera now that is embodied by all of the gods and is of normal size.
Be'lakor?
Yep. Yep. And
not for long. He's not normal size for long.
that model has never been on the table, right? And me and Lucy have tried to film the game for the last 10 days, but obviously issues with the bathroom have prevented that.
Yeah.
He is going in a battle report before he gets updated. Because let's face it, right? That new model is going to be as big as Archeon.
I think it could be bigger.
Honestly,
bigger in width, not in height. I think.
Based on the rules that we've seen as well, like, please, make him brutal, make him 600, 700, 800 points. Do it. I hope they do it.
Yeah, I think they will. I think that this is what Broken Realms is going to be. He's been needing it for a while. We've gone wildly off topic. But, yeah, Be'lakor badly needed an update for years. I was annoyed he didn't get it in Slaves to Darkness, but it's been worth the wait. Because that model is beyond phenomenal.
Anyway, back to Lumineth. The terrain piece. Wow, it looks stunning.
I think it's a great sculpt. I really want to see what everyone else does with it when they get it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of these things that right now it doesn't sing to me, but I think the potential is there for it to be beautiful.
I think for me, I can imagine seeing this with all sorts of glowing water. You can imagine people even possibly removing the water and actually doing some funky stuff with clear resin.
Yeah.
I think it's a stunning piece. I think I would buy this just to paint it and have it as a terrain feature.
I think this does lean into my point that I've always had with Lumineth, that they're not an army that transports well. That terrain piece looks huge.
Yeah. But what does it do?
What it does is you can garrison it with a single hero.
Yeah.
If you can see that in the picture, they've got him there. It's a nice, fits nicely there. Almost like they planned it. And then, so you got your rules. You got cleansing rituals. So once per turn, you can reroll one casting, dispelling, or unbinding roll for a friendly Lumineth wizard. That's great. Who doesn't like that? And then from the second battle round in your hero phase, if it's got a Shrine Guardian, which means if it's garrisoned, you can add 12-inch to the range of the ability. So
if someone is in it,
if someone's in it, the range, because it's a 12-inch reroll for the casting and dispelling and unbinding.
Yeah.
If you've got somebody in it, that range becomes 24.
Which, let's face it, where can you place it? After territories have been chosen, but before armies are set up, you must set up the Shrine Luminor wholly within your territory. But still, if you imagine, let's go standard 12 inches deployment in, you put that at the front, 24 inches forward is your opponent's.
Yeah.
It's covering most of the table.
And then, once per turn, the Shrine Guardian can use a command ability without spending a command point.
Once per turn, so every turn.
Yeah.
So 5 free command points.
Yes and no. I mean, the Shrine can move, and the Guardian is obviously stuck to the Shrine, so you're limited with range for where you're going to spend those command points on. But yeah, effectively, you've got 5 free command points if you can use them.
Yeah. Moving on, we've got 2 new factions. We've got the Great Nation of Lumieth and the Great Nation of Helon.
Yes.
Helon looks good. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of missile weapons used by Helon models that are within 3 of an enemy unit. So
you charge an archer unit and you don't kill them, you're going to really pay for that when they shoot you in the face a lot more.
And then you cast that spell to give them +1 to hit.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I think it's solid. You never want your archers to be charged, so at least that way they can shoot their way out probably fairly well.
Yeah. And Lumieth gives you 3 units can make a normal move before the game begins. Interestingly,
it's not the Hukaron stuff though. Which already has a big enough move, but you think it kind of would go with them. But at least if you were wanting to play quite aggressively, I guess, and you had a lot of the new stuff, this would allow your other units to keep pace because they're going to get a free move.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the new units, let's move on to them. Oh, there is three new battalions as well.
Yeah, one of which I definitely want to point out, which is the Harakian Temple.
Yep.
So it's the new Seventh Lord of the Seventh Wind, or a Spirit of the Wind, 1 Wind Mage, and 1 to 3 unit of Wind Changers.
Yep.
If a unit from this battalion is wholly within 12 inches of a hero from the same battalion at the start of the combat phase, this model counts having made a charge move in the same turn, which means they get their 6-inch pylon.
Yep. But Lumineth also get 2 activations as well, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got a free 6-inch move in the combat phase without having to charge.
Yeah. That's
which is
pretty cool.
Really
Designer's note as well.
If you're running those units anyway, I think it's just solid, because who doesn't love extra movement to move on to an objective, move out of somebody's line of sight, hide behind terrain? Like, it's just great.
Yeah, it's even got the designer's note there to confirm that is the intention of it.
Yep. Again, I want to see more of this going forward in books, because it just adds a little bit of clarity that is sometimes missing from Games Workshop's writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having that in the book rather than having to wait for the FAQ is a huge improvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we have been with these books.
Absolutely. So there is quite a lot of new units. I mean, how many is that? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 11 new units in here.
Yeah.
Oh no. 12, 13, 14. We've got 14 new units.
That's probably more than some armies have.
Well, it's more than what Iron Jaws have got.
Yeah, well, there you go. And it's only half the army.
Iron Jaws have got, 7 if you count Gordrak? Sorry, 8.
Yeah.
3 heroes, 3 units. Mega Boss or more Crusher and Gordrak. 8.
Yeah.
Right, so
I'm not going to imply that Games Workshop is biased towards elves. I'm just gonna put that out there, but I'm not implying it. I'm just stating facts. So, yeah. So I've not gone through all of these,
right?
Because I don't really know much about the elves, about the Lumineth in general. But there is some very interesting characters in this.
And who stands out to you?
Well, I say characters, I mean units, because there's one character that I really like, which is the Lore Seeker.
The Lore Seeker.
Yeah, the Scenari Lore Seeker. So initially when I read this, I glanced at the magic section. It was, he doesn't have his own spell, which I always think's a bit odd. There's not many wizards that don't have their own spell. But then, he's got a decent ranged weapon. He's got a decent melee weapon, but this lone agent rule. So you can add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target this model if he's more than 9 inches away from any friendly models. So now we're on a 3-up save. That's nothing to be sniffed at. In addition, instead of setting up this model on the battlefield, you can place it to one side and say that it's set up as a lone agent reserve unit. If you do, at the start of the first battle round, before determining who is the first turn, you must set this model up on the battlefield anywhere that is more than 3 inches from any enemy units, and not in your territory. If you set this model within 6 inches of an objective that has no enemy units within 6 inches of it, you gain control of that objective, and your opponent cannot gain control of it while this model is within 6 inches of it.
Wow.
So, right away, you can throw that model onto an objective, obviously out with your deployment zone, and you're going to force your opponent to not only have to try and take it, but also kill this character. So he's a huge distraction piece.
Absolutely. Do you know who this reminds me of? What were the name of was it the K-Knight Shadow Stalkers that a lot of people were using as like hit and run objective grabbers?
Yeah. I mean, they're probably still, because they can do it every turn, this is just a one-off. But the fact that you have to kill them to get the objective back is really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought they were interesting, and obviously the other big unit that are being a lot of talk about is the Venari Bladelords.
Which are these guys here?
Yeah, this is the big one that's been since they were, again, they showed the weapon profiles of these guys, and there's been a lot of talk about them.
So each is armed with a Sunmetal Great Blade. So, wait there. So do you pick one of these?
No, there's 2 different attack options. You have a Sunmetal Great Blade. You can either perform a Perfect Strike or a Flurry of Blows.
Ah, right, got it. So it's one or the other, yeah?
Yeah. Depending on what situation.
But, let's have a look. So you can have a range 2, 1 attack, see below. I'm guessing that's Swordmasters?
So, yep. Well, this is where it explains them both in the Swordmasters rule, because they both have a see below, either on the attacks or the to hit. But yeah, that's where that's found.
Right, so before fighting with this unit, choose either the Perfect Strike or the Flurry of Blows Sunmetal Great Blade weapon characteristic. All of the models in the unit armed with the Sunmetal Great Blades must use those characteristics when they attack. A Perfect Strike always hits. Wow. And a Flurry of Blows has an attacks characteristic equal to the number of models within 2. But still, that's nothing to really sniff at, because it's 3s, no rend, and 1 damage. But like, that's still a lot of attacks if you're going against things like ghouls.
So this is an example, I guess, of the internet jumping ahead to things, and I can see why they did. And I don't know if this is an omission on the War Scroll or if this is intentional. Sunmetal weapons generally have a rule that lets them do mortal wounds on 6s on the War Scroll.
Mm-hmm.
These don't have that rule.
Right, well, what other unit has that rule?
Well, the Venari Banner Blade, for example.
And is this on the...
It's on the War Scroll. That's why it's not an Allegiance rule. It is written onto the War Scrolls.
The Banner Blade, this guy?
Yeah. So
do a
lot of characters have this, but this is...
If an unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a Banner Blade sword is a 6. Ah, right. So I get it. The rule isn't there, but you're auto-hitting with the Perfect Strike.
But here's where it was being discussed. If you take the Flurry of Blows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as was discussed in the Scotland WhatsApp group when this was revealed, if you attack an Ironclad, you're in range of everyone inside it as well. So you're doing, if it's full, 26 attacks per model, doing mortal wounds on 6s, because the belief was because they were Sunmetal, they would have that rule. But there's a spell to make those mortal wounds then go off on 5s. It's 26 attacks per model.
That's insane. That's
so
absolutely.
So that's obviously what was like. Even you get any big unit, any decent sized number of unit, you get enough guys within, you're chipping away those mortal wounds. But they don't seem to have that mortal wound rule.
It's not in the actual battle tome here. Just for you guys watching along, here is in the battle tome. And it's not listed there. I think that is an intentional left out.
I would be inclined to agree, but if that's the case, why did they call the weapons Sunmetal weapons?
They shouldn't have.
I just think it's a bit odd. It's the one thing that really caught me was they've called them Sunmetal, but they don't have the Sunmetal rule.
No,
I
agree.
think that's gonna catch a lot of people out as well. They just won't. They'll assume they have it when they don't.
Yeah.
And if you put them in the battalion, they reroll ones. So you could be doing those any number of attacks and models and range rerolling ones as well.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah. So if assuming they don't get that mortal wound rule, they aren't as scary as what people were fearing.
They're still pretty good. I mean, auto hitting and wounding on 2s at -2 range.
And they're, what were they, 150 points for 5?
That's a lot though.
For 2 wounds, so you're 10 wounds. It's a 10 wound unit. It's not. 120. Sorry, 120 for 5.
That's good.
And they can also take damage for characters nearby them.
Yeah.
They're guardians as well. So if a friendly roll dice when you allocate a wound or a mortal wound to a friendly Sonari, it has to be the Sonari keyword though. So it's got to be from the same temple. Model within 3 inches, any of a friendly unit with this ability on a 2+, they take the mortal wound.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I also ignore the effects of a spell on a 4+. So, I mean, for 120 points, they seem pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what 30 points more than the Liberators for the same amount of wounds, the same save, quicker move, much more damage potential.
Yep, absolutely.
But these aren't battle line, so there is that, I guess. But you've got plenty of battle line. You don't need another battle line unit.
Yeah. How's the ballista?
It doesn't seem. It seems good. It seems fairly okay. It doesn't seem it's going to be ridiculous.
2 attacks, 3s, -2, and D3 damage.
Yeah. So it's not. I mean, you can. So you can fire blinding bolts,
which causes the target unit to suffer -1 to hit.
So that's a great combo if you're going to send a unit into. If you're going to send a unit into combat, shoot them with those first. Then it gives you a bit of breathing. We really don't activate that unit first because you know they're hitting back at -1.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the Messenger Hawk. So at the start of your shooting phase, pick one enemy unit within 24 of a friendly Realm Lord's hero, and pick one friendly ballista within 24 of that hero. If you do so, add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by that ballista on that unit. So now you're hitting on 2.
So basically, as long as you stay within 24 of a hero, you're hitting on 2s.
Yeah. And
that's all right.
Their battalion, if you don't move, they can gain an extra shot. So they're
that's
now
all right.
3 shots hitting on 2s. Yeah. And what I do like about them is they're ballistas that are designed to be deployed back, whereas the Stormcast ballistas you always want to deploy close range.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. I think a 6-up shrug.
Where's the cows? Not the cows, the kangaroos.
The kangaroos. So they are the Harakian Wind Mage and the Wind Chargers.
Yep. So the Wind Mage is obviously on a kangaroo, yeah?
Yep. And he's got a 16-inch move. Like, that's nothing to sniff at.
That's good.
Yeah. They have but what's nice to them is they have the Wind Leap. So if a friendly Wind Chargers unit starts to move within 6 inches of them, that they get the 16-inch move, and Wind Chargers only move 14. So you get an extra 2 inches of movement.
That's all right.
Yeah, and they count as flying when they do that, but they can avoid terrain anyway, so it just allows you to avoid enemy units.
Yeah.
So it's not a crazy boost, but it's nice. And if you're taking that battalion, you're going to have one of these in your army anyway. So, and then there's the Wind Chargers, which are your shooting kangaroos. So they got a great little harassment unit. So they're both 12-inch, but you've got 14-inch movement. So that's what, 26-inch threat range.
Yeah.
2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/1.
So is there a combat variation of them?
No, which is surprising.
Hmm.
They are just like a skirmish. Very much like I guess they're kind of a counterpart to the Slash unit that came out with the new unit with the bows.
Yeah, yeah. They're not great in combat, so I can't see why you didn't necessarily want to get them there. But saying that, with a 6-inch pile-in, you could make like a 7, 8, 9-inch charge, possibly 12 if you're lucky, and then a 6-inch pile-in could get you onto the objectives.
Yeah, but you just cleared 18 inches of board space.
Yeah,
like it is. I thought the mounts might be better in combat, but obviously that isn't their intention. But the Wind Charger bow itself is -2 rend in close combat.
Yeah, that's mental.
Yeah, that didn't seem. It seems odd to me, but
absolutely.
But yeah. You also don't get cover saves from their bows.
Nice. My next question was about one of the nicer models, I think. Alania and Elithor.
Yeah.
How do they perform, do you think?
So, they have some pretty interesting rules. For starting, they're taken in any order army.
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously quite good to represent them wandering through the realms. Now, Altari, which is one of the melee weapons of one of them, it is... Oh, it doesn't say who's got which weapon. But yeah, so the damage characteristic of Altari is equal to the number of the current battle round.
Wow.
So it's 4 attacks, 2s and 3s, -2, and then whatever the battle round is for the damage.
That's so good.
So you get them into combat, turn 3, turn 4, they are just going to do some serious work.
Yeah.
In addition, once per battle in your shooting phase, you can declare that Elithor will unleash a blazing sunbolt. If you do so, pick 1 point on the battlefield within 12 inches of this model that is visible to it, and draw an imaginary straight line 1 millimeter wide between that point and the closest point on this model's base. Roll a dice for each unit that has any models passed across by this line. On a 2+, that unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the number of the current battle round.
Oh!
Yeah, these guys are very much a late game beat stick.
So basically, hide them behind terrain, don't let anyone near them, and then turn 3 onwards, come out and annihilate.
And then especially like turn 4, you do 4 mortal wounds to all the units on that 12-inch line. Like that's just gonna be pretty devastating by that point in the game.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I'd want to cast and dispel and unbinding rolls for this model, so keep them back as a support caster till you turn 1, turn 2 hitters are probably dead.
Yeah.
And then bring these guys out from turn 3 onwards.
2 casts and 2 unbinds. So
fantastic.
Yeah. They also have sudden translocation. So at the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for this model fought in the phase. If the roll is less than the number of the current battle round, or less than the number of wounds allocated to this model, heal up to D6 wounds allocated to this model, then remove it from the battlefield. Then set up this model anywhere in the battlefield more than 12 inches from any enemy models.
Wow.
Yeah, so you lose a little bit of control because you can't guarantee you're able to keep them in combat, but if they do run out of combat, you're going to heal them back up a bit, and you can place them anywhere you want.
That's good.
And their own spell is a 5-up damage shrug.
That's so good. How many points are there? 260. No, that's the wrong. Yeah, 260.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they're very interesting.
The wind charges as well, 130 points for 5 of them. That's actually pretty decent.
For that amount of movement is pretty crazy.
And they are battle line in a Helon army.
Okay. Yeah, so that's...
which is pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
And the Venari Bladelords, you said they're not battle line, but for each Scanari hero included in your army, you can take 1 Venari Bladelords unit as a battle line unit.
Oh well then, there you go.
Wow.
What's interesting about this book in general, and it was the old book as well. They've started to do that. You can take 1 unit as battle line, which is the only book to my knowledge that has that. It's normally if you take a general, you get a certain battle line.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, they've got it with if you take a unit of wardens, then you get a unit of sentinels as battle line or something like that. And now they've got it here again. You take a hero, you get this bodyguard unit as battle line. I wonder if that's something we're going to see more in books going forward.
Possibly.
Conditional battle line, but limited battle line. Which could be confusing. If you have 3 units of Bladelords in your army and only 1's battle line, you have to make that very clear for certain missions where it matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, listen, guys, I know we haven't covered everything in great depth here. There's a lot of new information for me, but for Grant as well. And although Grant claims he has no experience, he has more than me with Lumineth Realm Lords. I do think some of the newer models are nicer than what the original release was. I do like some of the heroes.
I'm not a big elf fan in general in any sort of fantasy setting. So it was always going to be a bit of a harder sell for me. I think the detail in the sculpts are phenomenal. I think the way that they're putting these units together and everything is, it's pretty impressive.
And don't get me wrong, it's nice that they're showing them more love and showing more units, but realistically, right, they had a pretty big release to begin with.
And it's only like a year on. I mean, this
It's
is
not. It's not a year on, Grant. It's eight. Well, it's March now, right?
2020 was at least 4 years
July
long.
or June
Like,
these came out. June or July these came out.
yeah, see, that's not right.
No, it's kind of annoying, right? Because, especially in light of the pandemic, right? You'd have thought they just went, hang on, let's just release it all in one go.
Yeah, they could have held it, or just put out the army box.
Yeah.
And then left it at that even, but then it doesn't work either, I guess. I think it was I don't think it was I think it was a poor decision the way they played this out, and which is a shame because I think GW's made a lot of amazing decisions in general over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is maybe one of the bigger missteps in recent memory from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because it's too soon. If this was next year, I don't think anyone would have any issue with it.
Nah, not at all.
And especially because Teclis is getting a Broken Realms book straight away as the second book in the series, even though we know there's still 2 more to come.
Is there only 4?
I don't know. I don't know if there is only 4.
So the next one that we know of is Be'lakor.
Yeah.
And what's after
the one
that?
after that is Kragnos.
Oh, yes, that...
which we know nothing about other than that little teaser.
It looked like a bit like a centaur, didn't it?
Yeah, there's rumors, there's theories it's centaur, there's theories it's dragon ogres, it could be Kurnothi related. Like, there's just so much options it could be. So it's really interesting, that one. That's the one I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
I hope it's a destruction book, because there has been no love for destruction yet in the Broken Realms.
Well, I have seen some of the rumours floating around of the... Well, I think you posted them in the Patreon chat, actually. Floating around of the AOS 3.0 swapping to the total size that 40k is currently on. But then also a destruction starter box.
Yeah, which has been rumoured for a while, and it makes sense. We've had Chaos, we've had Death. So destruction, Stormcast v Destruction does make sense. So we'll see.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you very much, of course, for tuning into our review. However, one thing that Grant has helped us out with a little bit, and again, you can't see this, some of these fantastic models, which I have seriously enjoyed painting up as a nice change to Space Marines. Has he guessed it yet?
Is it unrelated to Games Workshop?
It is.
Some good old Marvel Crisis Protocol.
It is. So me and Lucy had one game over a Discord call with Grant, just to have a playthrough of it, and unfortunately we haven't been able to play it since then. Obviously the models were unpainted at that point. The whole starter set, Grant, is painted.
Good stuff.
The whole starter set is painted, folks, which means once we can actually start gaming again, once the bathroom is finished, hopefully this weekend, we can hopefully start and film some Marvel Crisis Protocol battle reports, which honestly I'm so looking forward to playing something that's just a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a fun game. It plays very differently. It's a great palette cleanser. You've got 5-6 models in your team. It's just great.
And let's face it, right? Initially I looked at the models and thought, you know what, they're expensive. They're not. They're not that
when you
expensive.
look at it in terms of putting together a whole roster.
But like 2 models for I haven't got them here, but like you can get Groot and Rocket, and it's like the RRP of that is around £40, but you can get them for about $32-35 from your local store. I know Justin at Battle Bunker offers discount on them. So realistically, you're paying like £16-18 per character. You're paying more than that for a GW character.
Yeah, and then you've got to remember you want to put a roster of 10 together to play, so that's still less than most Games Workshop armies.
Exactly. But you don't even have to have a roster of 10. You could have like 7 or 8 models. And then you only draw 4 of them, depending on how many points you're playing.
The match play sort of guidelines, if you will, is your 10 models. But yeah, it's a really exciting game coming at a really exciting time. The future for it looks very bright.
It's definitely picking up, and Battle Bunker is selling absolutely tons of it at the minute.
Yeah.
And I think I caught some of Atomic Mass Games' stream over the weekend, last weekend, and they revealed quite a few new models. So you've got Carnage coming from Spider-Man, along with Croc and Kraven the Hunter, and Mysterio.
Mysterio. And then the
Amazing Black Cat and the Amazing Spider-Man model as well.
Because Spider-Man that's in the core set is more of a representation of Spider-Man at the start of his career.
Yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man is him at his peak.
Yeah.
And yeah, he is very good.
Yeah. So that will be coming soon. We will be doing a Drukhari battle report as soon as I can. After we've done an Age of Sigmar battle report. But like, it's been really frustrating, Grant, because I'm itching to paint stuff and play it, and I can't yet.
Yeah, you've got to get the real world stuff done first, and then you can relax.
I know. And it would be wonderful if streaming and painting and stuff was my full-time job, because then I wouldn't have to work, then do bathroom stuff on an evening. But unfortunately...
Maybe one day.
I can hope.
Well...
Right, but that's it, folks. Thank you very much to Grant for reviewing these books with me. It's definitely been insightful. Thank you very much to everybody that has supported the channel over the last couple of years, and in particular over the last year. We will try and get content back to some form of schedule very, very soon. I'm missing it. I'm missing it a lot. But thanks for watching and listening, guys, and we'll see you again very soon.